Hello and welcome to your class of economics. Today we have completed one chapter with the topic. Last topic was scope and significance of macroeconomics. With that we have completed the chapter. Now today we are going to start with a new chapter, that is some basic concept of macroeconomics. In this we will study about the concepts of macroeconomics. Small definitions are there which is necessary to understand the concept of macroeconomics. So we will start with the classifications of good. So the first topic is classification of goods. See, classification of good means how we will see that the different goods fall into a different category on the basis of their characteristics. If we talk about the goods, we will see countless numbers of goods are produced in the economy. Okay, from a small needle to a big aeroplane, we will see countless number of goods have been there and they are used differently. So their classifications are also different. Okay, so first we will see about the final goods. Final goods, and that comes with the intermediate goods. So we'll need to find the difference between final goods and intermediate goods. Second, what are consumption goods? Or that is also known as consumer goods. Then difference between consumer goods and capital goods. So we need to see what are consumer goods and what are capital goods. So we start with the final goods. Okay. Final goods are those goods which have crossed the boundary line of production. Okay, means which is ready for use or consumption, which have crossed the boundary line of production. So final goods are those goods or which we are consuming or which are in the market or in the shops and which are ready by the which are ready for the consumers to be used. Okay, so these are those goods which we are using, or we can use it, or we can go in the market and purchase them and we can consume them. Those are always known as final goods. Okay, so expenditure made on household goods. Okay, whatever goods you are using at your house, okay, or consumer goods we can say, they will be always known as, their expenditure will be known as consumption expenditure. This will always known as consumption expenditure. So whenever you are consuming any good, okay, at home or for your personal use, that will known as consumption expenditure. And if you are consuming expenditure on final goods, on final producer goods, then this will known as investment expenditure. So see the difference. If you are consuming any household goods, it will known as consumption expenditure, means any expenditure if you are making on a household goods, that will come under the heading of consumption expenditure. And if you are making any expenditure on final producer goods, then it will come under the heading of investment expenditure. So now again we can say final goods are of two types. One is final consumer goods, second final producer goods. So when consumer are consuming, then it is a final consumer goods, and when final producer goods are used by or consumed by producers, then it will be called as final producer goods. Understand? Now we will see intermediate goods. Second, intermediate goods. No. Now, which goods are called intermediate goods? Now, first thing, which have yet not crossed the boundary line of production. Second, value is still to be added. On those goods. Third, which are not ready for use by their final users. So when you find these things are there with any good, okay, like which have yet not crossed the boundary line of production, means that is still under the process of production, okay. Then if we now second point, if you look to the second point, value is still to be added, means still some work are still left that has to be done on them. Like if you see, if we talk about any product and which is being still packing is to be needed in that product, so it will still some values are still to be added in those products, okay. So if you see, suppose shirt making, okay, if shirt is being made earlier, it is in a form of cloth, okay, then it has been stitched, then after that what happened, then it has been pressed or ironed, okay, then it is packed, and then it is sold in market, ready for sale. So here is also value added, here is also value added, here is also value added, and here is also value added. So these processes are there. If here it has been stitched and you have not pressed it or ironed it, then it is not good, okay. So you need to add more values, or it still needs some values to be added in that product. That is why then only it will be ready for sale. So that is known as value to still to be added, means some work are still left in those goods, okay. Then now third point, which are not ready for use by the final users. So still it is not ready for the use by the final users, and these users are consumers, okay. Now intermediate goods, if we talk about the definition, then I will say the definition. Now intermediate goods are those goods which are within the boundary line of production. Value is yet to be added to these goods, and these goods are yet not ready for use by their final users. This is the definition of the intermediate goods. Now one interesting question arises, that how can someone call that same good to be final goods or intermediate goods. So how one can decide a good is to be said as final goods or it is said to be intermediate goods? So the answer is end use of the product or goods decides. So here the end use decides that the good would be final goods or intermediate goods. Suppose, for example, if I say milk used in house for making tea, then it is a final goods. But this good or this milk used in shop, okay, for making tea or for making cheese or for making curd, then it is a it is a intermediate goods, because still that the seller needs to add some value to it. But here in the house, it is not any value, means it is not used for any value additions. Okay, you can drink it or you can use it in the tea. So these things are used as an household purpose. If it is used directly by the consumer, then it is a final goods. And if producers are using it or different sellers or shopkeepers are using for the different products or for different production of different other goods, then it will be a intermediate goods. Now if we take one more example like sugar. Okay, so if sugar is used as a raw material in the factory or bakery for production of biscuit, okay, so you can see sugar used here as a raw material. But the same sugar used in household, that is a final product. So in a factory purpose, if it is using it is a raw material, then when it will be a raw material, it will become a intermediate goods. And when it will be used as a household or it will be used directly by the consumer, then it will be a final goods. So end use here decides that the goods will be final goods or intermediate goods. So this is all for today. We'll meet up in the next class. Till then, thank you.